Another funny thing is I did pre-law and studied the Constitution, so I know the Constitution more than most Americans do,
Hmm.
which is
I think
sad.
that's pretty
Which is sad.
fucking important. Yeah, especially if you're a gun enthusiast, a gun owner. A lot of states have their own stupid laws that, um, I'm sure Kyle knows this, but you just don't want to. You want to know what the laws are. You want to know what your rights are. And
Yeah.
so many people become these car window attorneys when they get pulled over, and oof,
Dude, Georgia
ugly.
just shut the door on so much of that, though. They allowed for constitutional carry.
Yep.
So now it's just like another thing. My dad, he was like, your uncle's also armed himself. Now that
shit.
now that he doesn't have to go and spend the $15 and get his picture taken, he's strapped one on.
Lord forbid.
And because that's the other thing. Like I personally do not. I don't think I would support the constitutional carry in Georgia because it's concealed pistol carry, and they basically just told everybody, "Hey, you can do it," and they're like, "Really? Well, I've never done anything like that before, but sure if I can." Like that's 100% going to happen. Whereas before there was this minor hurdle. You went to a building, you said, "Hey, I want one of those permits." They said, "Give us your thumbprint and your picture and $15. Here, we're all square." And it lasted like 5 years. And the best part was you don't have to get background checked if you have one of those. You can just be boop and buy your gun. Because
North Carolina has that, but they also require a one-day course. Everybody passes this course.
Right.
I happen to pass the course. The marksmanship is incredibly easy. Anyone could do it, even if they hadn't operated a gun, I think. And the test was so easy. I got one question wrong, but people who got like 9 wrong, they just went up to the instructor and he's like, "So on this one, what would have been like your second choice?" They did it with me. We all got hundreds, every single one of us. I had this dumb idea. They're like, a concealed carry permit allows you to carry a knife over 3 inches. And I was like, well, that makes sense. Turns out it doesn't. But that was the one I got wrong. And but other people got a bunch wrong, and every single person passed. I still like it because I didn't know like the rules for engagement. They changed with the Castle Doctrine.
Yeah.
But they're important to know, and they would just make sure you walked out before you got a gun. You knew them when you're allowed to shoot.
I like that there's that little hurdle. That little hurdle's okay. I don't like these 3-day waiting periods. Don't get me wrong. That's bullshit. If I want a gun, I want a fucking gun now while I'm still mad. Okay, I got shit to do. I can't wait 3 days. I'll calm down. I don't like that at all. But a little hurdle that you've got to go and like be serious about it and get your thumbprint taken. Like I guarantee as soon as that went out, I mean, my uncle's an example of it. Last time I saw him shoot, it wasn't too impressive. I think he went and got some silly pistol too. Like it's nonsense.
Oh, no.
It's nonsense.
Oh, no.
See, it's funny because I'm licensed. I'm not licensed to carry in the States. I'm licensed in 2 countries. So I've had firearms I have firearms in Canada, which yes, you can have. And I have them when I'm in the States, when I'm in New York. But in New York, you don't have to carry conceal. In Canada, depends. You have to do pretty much a 2-day course for restricted, which restricted means you can buy a pistol or an AR type of thing. But we just passed a law that's kind of banning ARs at the moment, but we're fighting it in court and stuff. So it's a little crazy. But at the same time, you don't need a gun like in Canada like I need a gun in the
That's for shit sure.
We are so close, but we're so different. It's not even funny. Like
I see a lot of dummies on videos that get a gun, have no clue about the rules of engagement, how fluid that situation can be, and change from literally microsecond to microsecond, where you are, most grand juries would not indict you, and a split second later with what you did, you are completely guilty of murder. Like it's so
county to county.
And it changes county to fucking county. You could literally, I've seen so many videos of people. There's a recent one where guy gets in a altercation. They have road rage altercation. They hit. Guy gets out of his car with a bat and starts hitting the guy's car. Now I'm looking, going, okay, what is this guy going to do? He gets out of the car. He's got a gun. The guy with the bat kind of turns to drop the bat and run, and the guy shoots him. And then he shoots him in the back as he's running away. I'm like,
oh, Jesus.
Oh,
and then he walks over and he shoots him in the back of the head while he's laying face down on the ground.
No way, really?
Yeah.
That ain't good. That ain't good. I don't get it.
Listen, people say, okay, yeah, you have a different size population between Canada and the States. But we have the same demographics. Like you have the same percentages of Black to minority to African and Canadian to what have you, right? And you have pretty much the same cultures, but if you look per capita, the gun violence in the States is insane. So how is it that the two are so different yet it's the same?
I think we have more guns than you.
We have a lot more guns.
It could be that simple.
I'm going with better aim.
We got.
They have attempted gun violence, and we're
also slick with it.
Oh my God!
Oh God! Is that the scientific?
Yeah,
I gotta say, I mean, you look at every statistic. Over half the people killed with guns in this country, it's inner cities and gang related. There is something going on that just will not be taken care of. Instead, they keep trying to legislate against legal gun owners. It's gun violence, it's this violence, because they're so scared to actually address the problem. Perhaps some things need to be addressed culturally, family-wise. This whole attitude of, and I remember when it started back in the 80s, pretty much, where it's like, hey, no father needed. We'll just, I guess Murphy Brown was a show that was out. And Dan,
I think we're the same age. I remember that.
Yeah, probably. And Dan Quayle came out and said, this is against family values. And at the time I was looking going, yeah, that Dan Quayle's an idiot. Murphy Brown, if she wants to be a single mom, it's a good thing. And meanwhile, when you look and see how many single moms, especially in the inner cities where they don't have any other real people to gravitate toward, it just becomes this cycle of gang violence. Look, when are 12-year-olds getting shot? Poor grandma is sleeping in a bathtub at night, and goddamn if that round don't ricochet off the shower head and nail her. It's so sad, but
you have to understand that's also a matter of programming. Because there's a lot of people who don't know the history behind that stuff and behind the fathers not being around. Like there's a lot of Americans who don't know that the government would give you government assistance, but only if there was no father in the picture.
Yeah.
So that encouraged certain lifestyles.
And
you know what I mean?
I think there's a difference between is a divorced mom a single mom? I'm not sure. But there's
she's raising kids alone.
Not necessarily. Oftentimes they co-parent. The kids go back and forth from house to house. Because Wolf said father's not around, and that's like
right.
There's a huge difference, I think, between not having a father figure at all and parents being divorced.
But there's other people that can come in. Look, my parents got divorced when I was probably 11, 12 years old. My dad moved out to California. I did go out there and see him, and I lived out there for a little while. But for the most part, there was this. My uncle Tony, my brother being just a little older than me, other relatives, neighbors. There was this community thing where you had adult men teaching you and going like, whether it was, it wasn't this sit down and now I'm going to teach you something. It was sometimes it was just a backhand and go, don't be a friggin' asshole. What are you, stupid? Don't do that again, you stupid. Like that. But just having that in there. Shame was another thing. Like you do something stupid, and to have my Uncle Tony just go like, what are you doing? Come on, Anthony. What? And you'd go like, oh, fuck, I'm an idiot. Like that has some fucking equity in how a person grows up.
Yeah.
And I think a lack of that.
You have to take into account nature and nurture, and you have to take into account cause and effect and things like the neighborhood that you grew up in to have those influences were much different than certain black neighborhoods. And then you have to go, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And it's like,
you do have to ask, why is that?
There's a difference between, like, for instance, my dad wasn't around. My dad took off when I was 5. My mom raised 3 boys, and my mom was an accountant, worked her butt off, and I grew up in a nice suburban neighborhood. You know what I mean? Turned out pretty good. Went to university, yada yada yada. But in the States, the chances are much higher of being in a not so nice neighborhood.
Right.
And so if you're surrounded by that nurture, it's a matter of survival. That you want to do good in school, and you want to do this and everything. But if you're walking and you got to pass by drug dealers every morning who are telling you, listen, if you don't join us, we're going to destroy you. Forget those school books, come and sell for us. It's a little harder to survive in that environment and make it through all the way.
Oh, sure. That's a tough fucking situation. And to try to come up with some resolution is nearly impossible, because I think a lot of people have a lot of different ideas as to what the solution to that would be. Some people think more money to education. Some people think more government intervention, restrictions, whatever it is. I still, maybe it's my age, I still think that fucking smack to the head by someone and don't be stupid and making you feel like, yeah, I shouldn't do that. Yeah, it's tempting. Wow, I can make a shitload of money or work really hard and do this. Yeah, I'm in a bad situation. The neighborhood sucks. This sucks. But I gotta friggin' stay on this path. We all did stupid shit. I get that part. But my stupid shit would never equate to, at 12 years old, carjacking someone with a gun. Like something has to be done to address that before you can even start fixing it. And I think people are so fixated on, hey, great, more people dead in the city. Let's take legal guns away from legal law-abiding citizens. That's got to stop. The excuses from the left and the right have to fucking stop.
The last two big shootings were in the two states with the most gun control.
Most gun control. It's bizarre. When I heard Mayor Adams here in New York City, Eric Adams, he's been mayor for since January.
Useless.
And he's talking about ghost guns, and ghost guns this, ghost guns that. It's like, we got to have a law against banning ghost guns. It's already banned in New York.
Yeah.
New York City, you can't have a slingshot. Never mind. It's like you're going to walk around New York City and go to NYPD and go, ha, I made it myself. Can't do anything. It's a gun. It slings projectiles by burning gunpowder. It's illegal already. And by the way, the 0.00001% of ghost guns that are being used in crimes in New York City, it's inconsequential. These are all stolen guns, even straw man purchases, things like that. Regardless, the people using the guns are not legal gun owners. They don't have license, and the guns are not registered to them. So what friggin' laws are you going to legislate against legal gun owners that are going to help end the problem with the violence?
You and I probably line up word for word on guns. Maybe not every issue, but guns for sure. It seems there are already laws against doing all the things you don't want people to do. It's illegal to shoot people, right? So already we've got the big one covered. You don't have to make it illegal to own the thing to shoot people, because that only impacts people who own the thing and don't shoot people. People who own the thing and shoot,
which is the vast majority,
they ignore laws in the first place. Yeah. Another law isn't going to be the issue.
But you have to. But at the same time, like I lived in New York during the Dinkins years, right? And
little Dave.
There was, and
awesome.
the gun crime was insane.
Oh, crazy.
So some of these laws actually brought the gun crime down. It did work to an extent in New York, and I'm telling you, it did work.
Are you sure it's the cause and effect, though? Right? Are you sure it wasn't like the
you did not want to be when the big laws went through? You did not want to be caught with a gun in your car in New York.
But
after
crime went down outside of New York. Economic prosperity from like the 80s to 2020 just had a lowering crime rates and violence rates all over America.
New York is its own universe.
Right. Well, it's a universe that seems to follow the same rules as the rest of it.
No, it doesn't.
It is strange. It is different.
It's very different.
Its police department is literally like an army. They have a bigger police department than countries have armies, and budget-wise, right? And it's the pinnacle of the free world, tourism, all this shit. Security has to be crazy. The transportation systems just blow away any other
their own
city.
Police.
Yeah, they have their own police. The thing is, now after Dinkins,
Port Authority, all those guys.
When Giuliani came in, he was right up until September 11th. Giuliani was one of the most hated mayors of New York. Hated. September 11th, it was like America's mayor. We love Giuliani. But everyone forgets before that, people hated him. He was shutting down all the fun porn shops on 42nd Street and Times Square.
All the bodegas that he closed.
Oh, everything.
The bodegas,
it was terrible. But he also did something, and he was called racist for doing it. It was called the broken window. Yes, where cops would look away at a lot of shit over the course of the years. And he said, look, if we pay attention to the turnstile jumping and the broken windows and try to find out who's doing that, it will lead us to get bigger arrests for bigger crimes. And that's why when people knew if they were walking around with a gun, there was a really good chance that they could just be stop and frisk. Stop and frisk was terrible. They hated it. But it was, you didn't leave the house with a gun, because you knew you didn't even have to use it. You might just go, hey, buddy, let me see what you got there. Oh, it's a gun. Boom. A year, 2 years in Rikers.
Broken windows is tricky for me because, like,
I know
people who agree with broken windows are considered racist, which puts me in a weird spot because it makes sense to me. I feel like I followed it myself. So I'll lay it out there for people who've never heard of this. You see an apartment building, it's vacant, but it looks nice. The paint is still fresh and the windows are unbroken, and you don't tend to throw a rock through the broken you don't tend to throw a rock through the window even though no one lives there. Once there's one broken window, now this place looks like a target. You can break the rest of the windows. You can go in there. As soon as there's a broken window, it's a wreck. We would see, like, this is me in high school as an idiot. Remember, idiot. Let's just lay that out there. Let's admit to that. Cars. We never broke into cars. We didn't fuck with cars. That was somebody's car, right? But in Ocean City, if a car sat there too long, it would get an abandoned tag under the windshield wiper. And that meant it was ours. That meant that we could fuck with it. We could push it. A bunch of guys could, like, bounce it and make it sit perpendicular to the curb. That was the thing we would do a lot if it was small. We found one that you could start without a key. Like, if it had an abandoned tag, it was like a broken window.
Right.
Suddenly, assholes like me would fuck with that car who would never fuck with a car that didn't have one. Like, broken windows, it's called racist, but I'm like, I feel like it's right? Like, you don't.
Hey, but for you, it worked. But for me, the college kid who just like to hang out in the city on the weekends and go to nightclubs and stuff, getting stopped and frisked for no reason was hell. Like, I was, I was studying pre-law. And I was like, I wanted to be a lawyer, all that stuff, and I'd go to the house music clubs and the weekends and stuff. And to get harassed for no reason by the police was hell. And you gain that resentment over and over again. And I even be driving with a car with Ontario plates on it, and they'd still stop and harass us for no reason.
Here's a situation where when you're close to it.
Hold on, sorry, one more point. And a lot of people would say, and one of the most horrible arguments was, hey, if you didn't do anything, you shouldn't have to be worried. Right. Which is not how the law should work.
Yeah. There is a fine line between infringing on people's liberties and Fourth Amendment rights and keeping the city safe.